We are working on a project called In on the Act, which kind of really means people getting involved. It's my job to find that link between the community stories and the final piece. How do you tie in, work with your community partner in the Balmacara Community Trust, the people who live here, myself, and the wider region? How do you bring their conversations, their thoughts to life, I guess? But that's the key question, and it's what we'll be working on. The themes that are coming up are about lack of housing, people having to leave because they can't stay here, lack of opportunity, and then community erosion as a result of that, erosion of language and community spaces is a big part of it.
It is quite a tight-knit community, actually, and the funny thing is that each village has its own community, but also the larger community come together for things like events in halls. But we lost ours, and when we lost ours, there was that gap and everybody missed it so much.
One of the pupils we were working with there, she went, yeah, she said, my aunt used to live in Balmacara, said that hall's great, it used to be used all the time, and now it does nothing. And she was like, well, why is that? And so sort of, that was surprising, like super up in arms about it and already quite knowledgeable about the process, and knew that there was a campaign to save the hall as well.
It started off as our Christmas tree light up, which was quite a small event, and then it's grown into a mini market, and it's one of our key fundraisers that we organise to raise funds for our, as you've already seen, our derelict hall.
We want to see that sort of community hub, that sense of community, being able to gather in that space that belongs to us, and we'll have that feeling of ownership, which I think is very important in the community. Yeah.
What you have here is a group of willing people that come together as a community and are willing to share time together. So the hall and the theme of the hall will be central to the piece. It's central to the project. The other themes coming up, like housing and stuff like that, are a part of the story as well.
So I was inspired to get involved with the In on the Act project and work with the Morvern community in particular because I live in Morvern. I've been wanting to work in an arts context with rural communities for some time, and this seemed like the perfect opportunity to try to do that. My background is animation filmmaking. In the past, I haven't worked much with performance, so this is actually a learning curve for me. It feels a little scary in some ways, but in a good way, a positive scariness. There's a lot of really creative people in the community, and I'm seeing that we can really make the most of all the varied skills and abilities that there are around. So yeah, I've been really impressed that people are coming along to the sessions and just getting stuck in and doing whatever kinds of silly things we ask them to do.
If you were to write one letter, who would it be to and why? And thinking about the context of Morvern, would it be to the place itself, the landscape? Would it be an area or a place? Would it be a person? And what would you like to say to it if that was your last thing to give somebody?
This remote landscape and the community's connection to it is really prominent, and it keeps coming up in many of the sessions that we're doing. And I think that is a special thing that you see cropping up in rural places. The community members really become family members to one another, and that's really heartening to see, and I think that's something that I'd love to express in the piece. So that is definitely making me think about the direction we need to go forwards with in the next few months.
I genuinely think that working on this project has been one of the most enjoyable experiences of my life. How can you capture any community in one feeling or image? I mean, that's crazy. I think there's a great saying that nothing about us without us is for us. And I think that's true if you're working in a community, that really, if it's not shaped by those around, then what's the point? So I've been really keen to speak to as many folk as I can, to find out what the issues are around here, to find out what's good about being here, and get a chance to then reflect it back to the community in perhaps unusual or surprising ways. What I've tried to do in the project is draw a bit on past experiences in Lairg, but also really focus on the present. Stories around the wee hoose, or the fairy hoose, as some folk call it, are fantastic because they've actually reverse engineered a history and a past to the house that is complete nonsense, but it's such a good wind-up for tourists. And that to me was that kind of playfulness that's so central to the wee house. Felt to me like it was permission to be playful. You know, we rented a bouncy castle for the kids to have an afternoon of fun on. And I think the whole project's been a bit like that, is that you come in and there's just a whole mess on the floor. And then suddenly you put some power into the thing and it inflates, and there's life and laughter and everything going on. And it's been really exciting seeing the project come to life. From having an idea on the train back from Lairg to then seeing all the kids filling the community hall and having a ball one afternoon. That process of seeing things come to life has been fantastic.
People raise their kids here because there's this kind of really idyllic seeming childhood, but then there's sort of this feeling of if they want to make anything of themselves, they have to leave the island. And I think that's really problematic. It's really sad if people don't feel that they can stay in and have a kind of prosperous life here as young adults. It's about, what do the tourists not see? What do they miss out on? And what are the things that we wish people actually knew about Skye and what's really like? So I suppose that early decision to focus on the people and the individuals rather than a big thing about landscape being so wonderful was kind of one of the key decisions. So I think one of the most impactful moments for me was I was doing some interviews along at the care home in Broadford, and there was a woman there who was 103 years old who I got to interview, and she had fairly severe dementia, and she really didn't remember very much about her own life. Really, what was amazing was then when I asked her whether she sang, she immediately launched into about 3 Gaelic songs with like all the full text. She remembered every single word, and it was really that reminder of how big an impression music makes on us in our life, and how it's something that even when so much of our mind has gone, it's still there. Like all those lyrics are still in the back, and that was just a really, really beautiful moment.
Music is super important to Scottish culture. I feel that it's a way that we've expressed ourselves without using words.
I think Probably the most significant point was meeting the wind band. Actually, that was the point at which I suddenly thought, okay, I know what this project is going to be. Like, this is going to be the spoken word and the field recordings from the landscape that I've made, alongside the kind of music that's primarily driven by this wind band. So that was probably the point where it felt like suddenly everything clicked. Overall, I think I've spoken to about 120 people here on Skye. What I've done is I've kind of gone through hours and hours and hours of footage and picked out little excerpts from them, the things that I think are the little sort of gems or nuggets of information that I think will be important. And so interspersed between the music you hear the voices of these people from Skye. You hear in their own words the things that they're saying about the place and the landscape.
Last time we met, it was just the very beginning of the project, and things have developed a lot since then. Yeah, it's turned into something quite ambitious, so it's kind of filled me with a bit of panic. All of us, I think, we're kind of riding on this wave of a mixture of excitement and panic at the moment. I was thinking a lot about the ideas that come up from the engagement sessions and teasing out the recurring themes or the things that seem to be really important, and gradually structured a story out of that.
What makes Loch Highland interesting is that we are not depending on tourism like many other Highland villages, because we have the mine, we have the industry here. We're using the sand itself to create some of the animation that will be shown during the performance. So that's really cool. But it's a tiny, tiny amount of sand, because we're kind of mining 120,000 tons of sand in a year, and we're using maybe just a couple of grams for this performance. So
It was really lovely during the animation workshop to remind myself of what it feels like when the first time you animate something, and that magic experience of seeing an inanimate object come to life.
From what I have seen in the workshops, everybody who has taken part have been really positive about it.
well, I think the biggest challenge is going to come, and I will tell you exactly what it's going to be. Animation, music, live music, and the puppeteers. But to get the puppeteers and the music to get the timing exactly right with the animation, that's going to be a challenge. Yeah.
If it all works well, that would be wonderful. If it has some teething problems, I think that's okay as well, because this is part of the process, and I think sometimes artwork, when it has a bit of rawness to it, it has more life to it as well. So
Every step of this project, you have an idea and you think, well, that might be possible. And then you work out how to make it possible, but you don't know if it's possible till it's happened.
It's been a really lovely process to watch how David's connected with people. He has a really natural conversation, and he's really warm and funny, and people respond to that. And he's really good at teasing out the stories. So we just sidle up to people at coffee mornings and introduce ourselves, and then he'd be away with it.
I remember going up to the stall, the choir stall at the Winterfest, and I went up to them and I said, you don't know me, but I'd like to write a song. I haven't written the song, and in the song I haven't written, I think there's a part for the Gaelic choir, but I don't speak Gaelic, so I'll need to get someone to translate it. But if I managed to write the song and get a translation, would the Gaelic choir be up for it? And of course, they're looking at me like, what is going on? There's something so universal about music. It's a language that you don't have to speak a language to connect with. And so I just love being able to be a part of that. What emerges through the process is so far beyond the first initial thought. And so by the time it got to the point where the choir were singing what I'd written for them, you almost forget that that's where it came from in the first place. It doesn't feel like it's mine. It just feels like I got to be a part of the process, and same as everyone else. It's marvellous. That sounds great. I think we can use that. So you can all relax, and let's just do it once more with feeling. The song's written, the translation has happened, and we've just recorded the Gaelic choir singing the coda of the song. So it's amazing from that first conversation to get to a point where it's in the can.
So it's 10 days before our final performance, and I've just driven up from home and about to arrive in Portree, ready for the rehearsal with Skye Band. This is the second time that we've met to go through the music. And yeah, I'm really excited to hear how the piece has progressed from the last time and see how we can shape it ready for the performance. I think what's really wonderful about working with the wind band is that they're so multi-generational. So you've got kids probably as young as maybe about 10 in there, and then their oldest player is sort of well into their 70s. So it really is a true community wind band, and that's been really special. And I think for them, they're only 3 years old as an organisation. It's the first time they've ever played something that's been specifically written for them. So it's been really amazing seeing them kind of rise to the challenge and get really excited about it, and also something that genuinely brings all of the community together in a special way.
You say a community band, that's what it's all about.
I'm really excited for it. It's been a kind of interesting middle phase where it's like I sort of know roughly what all the jigsaw pieces are, but I haven't seen how it all comes together yet. And now it's finally at that bit where I'm like, okay, this connects to this and this connects to this, and I can imagine the order and I know kind of how it's going to flow from one thing to the next. So yeah, it sort of feels like it's very nearly coming alive now. Everything that you're going to hear in this piece, it comes from the community. Like all the stories that I've collected from people, all the things that they've told me about their life here and the things that matter to them and the things they find difficult.
It's probably my favourite place just to be. I think it's very peaceful, and you can always go out and enjoy outside and all that. It's pretty much like a big family, I feel like, on Skye.
All of the musical parts of the piece will be tied together by hearing fragments of these interviews. So you're kind of really getting a snapshot of all the different people and their voices sort of in first person, as it were. Yeah, it's all totally connected to the community. And then, of course, I've got 25 people from the local community performing in it, which is really, really wonderful.
They just created such an amazing atmosphere that really embodied the whole of In on the Act just in them, because it was everyone together playing it together as a community that lives on Skye. I just loved that, and they were so excited to be involved, which was also really magical.
I'm a bit concerned about this rain at the moment, but it's supposed to clear up. So fingers crossed it does. I'm really excited for it, particularly for the young people, but for us all to share the kind of little piece we've been working on and get some feedback on that, and hopefully it feels celebrating but questioning Balmacara, Loch Alsh, the Gaeltacht Scotland, where we live, you know. The piece that we're going to do today is, of course, a part of In on the Act, which is an Eden Court project with 4 different communities in the Highlands, of which Balmacara was one. The Community Trust, we're the community partner here, who just had the most amazing news today. I'm sure you all heard it, but funding has been secured for a new hall. Yeah!
During the performance, the PA just stopped working. But the performers managed to continue on the performance and do their show. And I think that really symbolises what this whole thing was about. Was, yes, you can polish something and you can put it on stage, you can light it, you can amplify it, but actually the most important thing about this whole process was the show that they were putting on for their own community and the support that the community were giving to the people who were part of that. We created something that people will remember, and the people who were part of it will remember.
Maybe it'll inspire people to see the importance of the place. Somebody said community is a verb. It's a doing word. You have to get on and do community.
Weirdly, I feel quite okay. I feel quite calm. I think this is because the main part of my job is done. Everyone knows what they're doing. I'm excited to see what the audience thinks of it and excited to share it with people.
The thing is that it's out of my hands. There's nothing I can do. I'm a little bit nervous about what people think about it, but I actually think it's really great. So I hope that they share my opinions.
Welcome to the sway of Morvern.
I hope that they feel we've captured the complexity of this place, that it's not a simple place. And I hope it gives a sense of collaboration and co-creation as well, and that we can't do anything on our own. You know, we need support from others, and we can all work together as a community. Solidarity. Different people with different backgrounds coming together. That really comes through from the performance, from the feedback from people, from having the time to hang out with people afterwards. The fact that the piece actually moved people and that it means something to people feels like it represents solidarity as well. So I'm really happy about that. I hope as well that it's given them some pride in their community, because we've got such a wide array of talent here, a lot of really engaged people. Not just talent, but energy, people that want to get involved. So yeah, I hope people have left feeling warm and proud of what Morvern can offer, because I think it really has a lot to offer.
It's a bit like a dream, really. It's been exciting for weeks, and now it's really happening, and you see the cameras, lights, the people. There's a real buzz and a real energy, and you can really feel it in the hall. And I can't wait till the curtain opens or rises.
There's a deep joy, I think, to being able to welcome people. And I hope that's something that for Lairg's future continues to be a big part of its story. Is the way in which it welcomes folk and helps folk to become a part of what it is.
4 very different communities, 4 very different artists, resulting in 4 very different performances. I am delighted now to be able to welcome you all to Lairg, a celebration.
think it's the beginning, and I think as a community educational learning centre we will try our hardest to bring another experience like this.
It's about providing opportunities, and as Eden Court says, they want to bring the world to the Highlands and the Highlands to the world.
The beauty, the playfulness, craftsmanship, the storytelling, all of those things coming together, because it encapsulates so much of what I've enjoyed about being in Lairg. There's a huge amount of creativity up and down the country, in tiny villages, the length and breadth of the country. And we just need to be able to enable it more, to support it more, to encourage people more, and to see it flourish more.
I'm really excited about the performance. This will be the first time that I hear kind of everything together in one, because we've rehearsed like the sort of professional musicians and the wind band, and then I know all of the spoken word bit, but I haven't heard the whole thing kind of and the way it all flows into each other. So yes, it's going to be really exciting just to see that all come together finally. I think most of all, I'm just hoping that it's going to kind of ring true for the audience. I suppose like this has always been a community piece, and it's really about their thoughts and feelings, and so I really want people while they're listening to it to feel like, oh yes, I can see my life, I can see my thoughts sort of reflected in what I'm hearing here. So I suppose that's what I'm hoping most of all. I suppose the performance tonight is just a lovely culmination of all the relationships that I've made during this project, especially with the wind band. I think that's been a really valuable collaboration. It's been really lovely on both sides. Hopefully feeling like, yeah, that this last 6 months has mattered, it's meant something, and it's brought together all these thoughts and ideas and opinions. I hope that more than anything that tonight is sort of thought-provoking for people, because I definitely touch on all the wonderful bits of living in Skye, but I also touch on some of the harder bits, some of the problems with over-tourism, with housing, with the problems that hit rural areas. So I hope that it will be kind of overall an uplifting experience, but also thought-provoking, and make people just kind of realise that these are real lives in a real place, and it's not just a sort of tourist postcard to come and visit. It's really important that we keep remembering like why it is that we are creatives. Why does it matter to us as professional artists, but also to wider communities? Why is it really important that we keep in touch with art and music and culture and drama and all these things? So I think projects like this allow us to keep those connections with art in the community, and that feels more important than ever in some ways.
You don't actually have to go that far away from home to be able to create something or see something beautiful. That actually the people around us are able to create something that is going to spark our excitement, is going to be able to feel emotion, to be able to feel excitement, and to be moved by something creatively.
It actually made me really emotional, and I'm not even from Skye. It brought a lot of emotion to me, and then the Skye band joined in. For it all to come together was so beautiful.
I genuinely think that working on this project has been one of the most enjoyable experiences of my life. The beauty, the playfulness, the storytelling, craftsmanship, all of those things coming together.
We have so many creative, fun, interesting and exciting people in our community in the Highlands, and to encourage these people to be able to create things, because that's where the magic is.
It's been magical. That's my word. Yeah, I feel it's been magical.
I hope that we're able to do more projects like this. It's something that's very important as a string to Eden Court's bow. So yeah, I really hope we're able to do more things, more projects like this in the future.
Having projects like this come in and be involved in the community and get to work with different people here, and also keep artists and work here, and also venues and all these different things that go with that. It's great that we have this lovely work, but it's also keeping us living here and being able to be supported as artists and parents and all these sorts of things. That's really what I would love to see going forward, is that we can still live here and keep going as artists and as people.
If your dreams get heavy or the distance feels too hard, just call my name, I'll be here. No matter where you are, I always knew that someday you'd go far. But that won't stop the heartache as the rear lights of your car drive away. Darling, no matter where you are, this will always be your home, and you'll always have the island. I always knew that someday you'd go far, but that won't stop the heartache as the rear lights of your car drive away. Darling, no matter where you are, this will always be your home, and you'll always have the island. This will always be your home, and you'll always have the island. This will always be your home, and you'll always have the island in your heart. And you're going to go far.